Stay informed and stay in the know. Learn and interact with compelling conversation. Grow your mind and transform your thinking. This is the Bev Smith Show on the Empowerment Radio Network.
Tom Burrell, founder of Burrell Communications, internationally known for what he does and what he says and the integrity of both. We're talking to him, and we don't want to run out of time before he tells me what he thinks about the growing battle between the co-founder and the former vice president of Black Entertainment Television, and Deborah Lee, who used to be corporate attorney and now is the CEO, and what he thinks about the African-American press. I love what you said, Tom, about the word Negro. The okie doke was on us because they did not know that the word Negro meant black. Negro, negre, negri. And so once again, without even being aware, we bought that it was a negative, when the truth of the matter is, it's a positive, and after all, it is a black river in Africa, isn't it?
Anyway, yeah, we often get hung up on superficial, symbolism, and that's gotten us into a lot of trouble. I get into trouble when I talk about the sit-ins of the during the civil rights. The dawn of the civil rights movement, where we were doing the lunch counter sit-ins starting down in the South and South Carolina, and what I say is that we went in and risked getting our heads bashed in because we wanted to insist on going into a white lunch counter and being served. And what we were basically doing is saying, please, Mr. White man, Mr. White business owner, please take our money. Mm-hmm. Please let us spend our money with you. Mm-hmm. We desperately want your hamburger, your hot dog, your Coca-Cola, and we are willing to spend this little money that we have. Would you please let us eat here? We insist, as a matter of fact. In fact, we're willing to go through physical harm. Now, this is about food. Now, if there's one thing that black folks can do is cook, okay? Did it ever occur to us that, wait a minute, these people will not let us eat in their establishments? We have X number of thousands of people here in our town. Why don't we open up some restaurants and make money for ourselves by serving good old African-American soul food? And you know what would have happened? We would have had some going businesses, and not only that, but even the most ardent white racists will acknowledge that black folks sure can cook, and they will wind up trying to find a way to eat the food that we have to serve.
Yeah, on Friday nights lining up in Memphis, Tennessee, and other places to get our ribs. And as Paula Dean talks about the fact that the chicken recipe that she has wasn't hers. It was given to her by a black woman. But before we run out of time, if we do not begin to realize the brainwashing, we're even more lost than we are. Because the truth of the matter is, in my opinion, Tom, we're back to Ralph Ellison's invisibility as he talks. But what Ralph Ellison had in his time that we don't have now is that we're now invisible to each other.
Right.
Leave us with one way. The book is called Brainwashed.
Well, the way is through technology, especially the new technology. I mean, for the first time, we have access to the technology that you're talking about, the Facebooks and the YouTubes, and we can actually disseminate messaging to each other like we've never been able to do before. We don't have to go through the networks, the television networks. As a matter of fact, they're looking at YouTube to see what they're going to pick up to have on their shows. We need to use this new technology and master that technology, because if we don't use it, it's going to use us. And we have got to educate ourselves about how we need to communicate with each other and communicate positive messaging to each other that will and show how it results in positive results.
So was Sheila right when she talked about squandering the voice? And as you look at black media across the board, I mean, how could they even think about getting rid of George and Emerge magazine? But that's another conversation.
Well, that's another story.
That's another story.
Of course, but yeah, that is true. It's a two-way street. We have got to work at it from the top, the people who are producing the media and the people who are consuming it. We have got to say to the people who are consuming it, you have got to demand better stuff, and you got to go to the producers and say, you have got to produce better stuff, otherwise the people are not going to buy it. When they produce bad stuff and people buy it, then they're going to keep on producing it. And so if it's bad stuff, you have to stop buying it. Okay?
And that's the most difficult thing to do, Tom, for us to do.
But we got to start doing it, because nobody has bad intentions. People are basically hooked up with the greed thing. We want to make money. Okay? So let's get it to a point where you do well by doing good. And we have to train people, condition people, educate people to demand good material that will allow the people who produce it to do well.
You said, I just love this. You do well by doing good. That's very, very powerful. That's almost biblical. The more you give, the more that's given to you. Give of the best that you have. There are such needs in our community, and not only with the current politics of the day are we seeing a threat to everything and every game, but if we don't get over being brainwashed, how bad will it get? Can it get any worse than it is now?
Yes, it will. It will get worse. The reason it'll get worse is because there will be no reason for it to get better. Because the only, Douglas says that power exceeds nothing without the demand. He was, in my view, a little bit off on that. Power exceeds nothing without some kind, in this country, some kind of economic coercion. Power exceeds nothing without coercion. And the only coercion we have here is getting to people's pocketbooks. And if we want to change things, we've got to make it in the best economic interest of those people who are producing bad stuff.
That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. I mean, I always go back to The Godfather, and they're sitting around and trying to decide where the heroin should go. And this guy says, not in my community. This guy says, my community. The Jewish accountant says, not in my community. They all look at each other and say, give it to the jigaboos. That was the original language of the movies until Jesse and them got involved. We allow anything in our community, any kind of products. We now know that certain chain stores, nationally, and even in our own community, they save the spoiled foods and everything for our neighborhoods. So when they do that, we should remember how much money do we contribute to this country's economic base, as much as enough for a country, and none of it comes back to us. None of it.
We spend roughly $1 trillion. We're on our way to